What's good, my BMF Army? This is the first poetry share of 2026.
Don't start shit if you ain't ready to get hit.
Will allow me to drop some knowledge.
I have to disagree. I saw the Sailor Moon outfit.
What is really good, my BMF army? It's your favorite Jedi, the BMF goddess. I hope that everyone survived the new year intact and that your new year is starting off well. I'm actually really excited about tonight's show because I'm a poet slash writer. Started writing when I was very young, 7 years old. Um, and it hasn't been so easy for me to find people to want to do this or people that actually write or are into poetry. Anyways, with pleasure, I'd like to introduce you all to fellow poet, Savage Writer. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Um, how you doing? Welcome.
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Just taking it day by day. It's a new year. New opportunities. New connections to build. Just overall expansion and everything of that sort. So I'm looking forward to what this year has in store for all of us.
Right, absolutely. I feel you on that. I feel like we haven't completely stopped reeling from the pandemic.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Life
I,
just has not been the same.
Yeah, I know it's like I look at it like this. It's like two different timelines, you feel me? Before that and after that. It's like a
For real.
whole another dimension, but that's another conversation for another day.
So, can you tell us like where you're from, your age, and how did you become a poet?
Okay, so I'm Savage Writer. I'm a multifaceted artist. I'm from Newark, New Jersey, Brick City, 973. I just turned 27 in December. Um, Yeah, I've been writing, I've been um MCing, I just been storytelling, doing poetry, spoken word for about over a decade now. I believe this year will be 12 years since I've done it professionally. But I've always been into reading and writing like my whole life. So yeah, that's always been a very big passion of mine. And I just love the fact that I can get out there, I can express my story, and this what poetry, what writing, what storytelling has done for my life. It has changed it in insurmountable ways. It helped me overcome my fear of public speaking. It helped me with a lot of trauma, even stuff that I'm still processing. It's very therapeutic for me, and I love what I do. Even sometimes if it isn't always fun because it's not always going to be fun when you're pursuing what it is that you're truly passionate about and you want to make something out of it. Beyond just money is going to come with a lot. So, but I could talk more about that, as we go along.
So you rap too?
Yes, I
You
am
do
also.
music?
Yeah, I'm a hip hop artist. I don't like the term rap because culturally, um, hip hop is what started all of that.
Right.
Without no hip hop, you wouldn't have no rap. So, but that again, that's a whole nother conversation.
It's multiple times throughout my life, people that know I write have asked me, "Do you write music?" Because they're like, "Well, if you can write a poem, you can write a rap song." And
Right.
it's like, but not everybody can do that. Like as far as
Yeah.
writing, yes, but as far as performing, something else. So that's
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
an extra talent.
Yeah, it's everybody's different. With me personally, I had to like grow into my voice, and I still am. But I feel like now I've found like some footing, uh, solid foundation, and I can only just go up from there.
Right. So how exactly did it happen for you? Like, what
Okay.
made you say, I want to write a poem, and how it set you off from there? What's your story?
Well, I gotta take y'all all the way back to high school when it all first started. Because originally I wasn't even a performer. I was actually an author. Um,
Okay.
I was writing narratives, novels, so to speak. My favorite fiction I say fiction. My favorite genre of novels is actually I love like thrillers, mysteries, a lot of
Me too.
action, yeah, drama, yeah, stuff like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? And like, I was inspired by that. It was this book I remember reading before I even had came to high school. I was still in middle school. This
Mm.
was like years before I even started my career or anything. I remember there was this book that I read. It was called Tangerine by Edward Blord. I read it twice. First time I was still in like middle school. Like I say around fifth or sixth grade. I read that book. You know, I was moved by it because I was able to relate to the character and the story and everything that was going on. I won't spoil it, but you know, it definitely inspired me and moved me. And then the second time I read it, I was in eighth grade. I was just on my way to high school, and
Hmm.
my language arts teacher at that time assigned us the book, and
Hmm.
I'm like, wait, this book was real familiar. And you know, as I was getting back into it and reading it, it
Hmm.
was just as good as the last time that I read it, and I got so inspired. You know, I sat down and I was thinking about it. I said, I could write something just like this. Not I want to outdo that person who wrote it per se. I don't mean it in that context, but I'm like I can resonate with this because I feel
Hmm.
like I've lived through this character's lens or experience, even if it's not exactly the same, it's similar. So that's what really inspired me to work on that piece. And I remember that would eventually become my first ever published book, The Ballad of Sydney Hill, which I worked on for about I'd say 2 years before actually publishing it. It's gonna sound crazy, but like I didn't know what I knew now. You know, I didn't
Hmm.
know how to, really go about putting it out there, maneuvering it. But I knew one thing, I was gonna put that work out. And I sat there, I hand wrote over 288 pages. I kid you not. I still got it in my closet. You know what I mean? I hand wrote 288 pages by hand, a whole book, which took about a year and a half. And then once I had got to high school, it was my freshman year, I was still looking at it, going over it. And, it took about, I say, another 6 months, right after I finished. Well, right before I was about to finish freshman year of high school, like 6 months after, to, get it done, rewritten. And then, lo and behold, I just became a sophomore in high school. I had my first book published,
That's
and that's what
awesome.
really started my journey. And from there on, I just kept growing. I kept developing. I wanted more and more and more, and I was finding ways to apply myself in different areas. And that led me to where I am at today. So I'm truly grateful for the journey, the experience, and everything that I've learned.
I respect that. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
What kind of poet would you classify yourself as? Like, for example, I definitely put myself in the dark poetry spectrum because a lot of my work stems from pain. I haven't been, I mean, I could write, I have very sparsely, one poem here and there that was about, happy things, but I definitely started writing out of things I was going through in my childhood and then in my life. I've had a hard life. A lot of us have. Mine's could definitely be a movie. But the poetry is where I found, solace. And like you said, uh, it's good for, your anxiety and everything that you're feeling is where you go.
Absolutely.
Is where you go to be, in your zone, in your safe place.
Absolutely. I agree. So to answer your question, yeah, I'm in the same boat myself right now. I'm just no nonsense, no bullshit. I don't give a fuck how people feel about it. I'm gonna say what I feel, because I can resonate with that, what you just said. I've also had, a rough upbringing, and even as an adult, I still had an uphill battle trying to advocate for myself, stand for myself, overcome a lot of the traumas and a lot of the demons that's within me, and that's a continuous process. And I feel like one thing that has really been upsetting me about mainstream poetry is that people they want pain, they want authenticity as long as it's palpable. You feel me?
Yeah.
They want a certain version of it. And it's like me, I'm not here to do any because I've been there, done that already. I've done slams, I've been on national stages, all of that. And I felt like it was to a point I wasn't performing for myself. I wasn't really writing for myself. I was writing for the approval and acceptance and to get other people's reactions from others.
Right.
And like now I'm in this phase where I call myself a poetry villain. And it's not because I'm inherently a bad person, it's because I'm just tired of all the nonsense, all the BS. And it's only so much that, people could take, people could withstand until they have no choice to decide that, either something got to change or something got to go. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm in that boat right now. Will I one day, have more enlightenment and be able to, calm down a bit and see things from a higher perspective? Absolutely. Growth happens over time, not overnight. But I feel like at this current phase, it's just too much BS going on out here beyond just entertainment. And somebody got to say something about it. It's like we can't keep sweeping stuff under the rug and expect the floor to be clean. Nah, we can't do that, you know. And if nobody else gonna do it, I will. And I don't care what backlash, what criticism I gotta face. I ain't on no crazy stuff, you know what I'm saying? I ain't on no Kanye type of talk. Although there's some things Kanye said that I do agree with and also I don't agree with. But I'm not gonna
Right.
specify none of that stuff here,
Right.
you know,
I feel you on that too. Yeah. I
for
feel the same
obvious
way.
reasons. For obvious reasons. But you know what I'm saying? Still, with Kanye, he's not afraid to speak his mind and say what he gotta say. I'll give him that. You
That's
feel
the
me?
part I respect. I don't have to agree with everything he says, but I
Right.
respect that he does.
Right. The fact that he's gonna say what he feels, whether people like it or not. You know what I mean? And like I said, some of it is real, some of it, I don't know. But that's what comes with being outspoken.
Yeah.
Being able to look past all the nonsense and say, you know what, this isn't right. Something has to change. And, that's where
That's
I'm
where
at.
the that's where the savage comes in.
Absolutely. Yes, like people might think, oh, he's just trying to be an asshole or a dick or whatever shit people want to throw out
the
there. You
the
know,
right people won't think that though. The right people, it's like they say, real recognize real. And
absolutely.
for me, that's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be everybody cup of tea, and I'm okay with that. I can't please everybody. I can't convince everybody. But
You
however,
stay true to yourself.
absolutely, and the people that will resonate with it, they're gonna come to it. They're gonna flock to it, and whoever don't, I mean, nothing personal. Feel me? So
I'm glad that you brought that up though, because um throughout my life I always said, I wanted to go recite a poem. I wanted to go to a poetry slam or something. And when I went to my first one, um, it was very much like that. It was very performy. And I got on stage and I recited a poem that was very personal to me about the death of my mother, and it was nothing like anybody else's. Everybody else, you felt, the rhythm and this and that, and
Right.
mine was very different. It was dark and it was just straight and plain. And at the end of the day, after I left, I felt good for doing it, and I was like, "That's me. I can't be that. I don't
Right.
wanna." So I know exactly what you mean about how it is today, which is where I said it's also hard to find people. So I click with you on that. I like that, and I appreciate that.
Of course, no problem. Yeah, I feel the same way. Even when I was doing slam, still, yeah, it's very performy, very clicky. You know, like you could be the most illest poet on the scene, but there's also another aspect of it nobody talk about. Unfortunately, sociability, markability. You know what I'm saying? If you're not part of their circle or they clique or they don't like you as a person, then unfortunately, yeah,
Without even
you
really knowing you.
right, right, exactly. You're not gonna get the snaps. You're not gonna get the claps. They're gonna give you the low votes. I've been through all that. So,
how did how did you get through that though internally?
well, it took me a while to like really accept things for what they were, and not only that, but also look within myself because yeah, it's easy to point the finger and it's this person's fault and it's cause this and that and da da da. But there's an obligation that we all have to have. We are all responsible for the emotions we carry. And sometimes, like I said, I've been saying some days are better than others, but it's just understanding where I'm at within my journey and my development that my chapter 20 might be somebody's chapter 50, or my chapter 100 might be somebody's 3, and that's okay. We're all in different journeys and in different phases. And learning to accept that has made me more comfortable with myself as both a person and as an artist. And additionally, it has attracted the people, the audience, the love, the support that resonates with me, that meshes with me. So that's my take on that question right there.
Okay. And I see that you do recite a lot at places. Can you tell me more about that? How you got into that?
Well, I remember I really didn't start performing until like I was out of high school. Like I say, probably like a few months after, because I remember right after I say probably a few months after I graduated from high school, I was doing my undergrad. I started my undergrad rather, because if people don't know that. Well, they do know, but they want to know probably off of first observation. I'm very well educated. I have 2 college degrees. I have a associates in applied sciences and business administration, and then I have my BA in English as a writing option. So, and I got both of those degrees like 2 years apart from each other. So,
That's what's up.
yeah, yeah, I'm
Congratulations.
thank you so much. I'm very well educated, very well read, very well spoken. But
Hmm.
again, uh, like I said, if you don't fit a certain mold, you don't fit a certain stereotype, people are gonna overlook all that. But
Right.
back to the question at large. I remember at the Newark Public Library um that I was on Facebook, just looking at stuff, scrolling, then I seen that there was an event, like a poetry workshop that was
Mm.
hosted by Jasmine Mans. And if any of y'all know who Jasmine Mans is, she's one of the illest poets to ever come out of the Brick City. And
Yeah.
she was my first poetry mentor. And a lot of the things that I've learned about poetry, about performance, that came through her and her abilities and her support. And I sincerely thank her for that. So there was a workshop. I went down there. It was like a small room. I think it was like 5, 6, 7 other people. It was a small group. And then, we all was writing our poems, we shared. And then, I went up there performed, and they was like, "Yo, that was real good." Cause I didn't think I was that hot. I didn't really know what I was doing at that time. I just was up there just to share how I felt, and they was like, "Yo, that's real good." Wow, and then that's when I met Jasmine and everything. She's like, "Why don't you come back next week?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then I just kept coming back, and eventually one thing led to another. I learned more about performance. I learned more about poetry and all of that. We would go to shows in New York. Some of her fellow colleagues that were also artists and poets. We went to the New Weekend and stuff like that. And
Okay, yeah.
yeah, yeah. If y'all know about the New Weekend Poets Cafe, if you're not a poet, if you've never been there, but I mean, yeah. So eventually, I had an opportunity to join a slam team, the youth slam team at that time. There was like a competition, but in order for me to get on the team, I had to first qualify. And they had some of a lot of the best youth poets all throughout the city of Newark. I remember it was like a 3 round thing. I remember it was like the first bout was at the library itself. I think it was like 2 rounds. I won that competition. I was in one of the top 10 or whatever. And then there was another qualifying slam where they had to narrow it down. And at that point, that was at the North Museum, and that was where that was the final night. Like, whoever wins tonight, y'all going to be able to be on the New Jersey Slam team, youth slam team for Brave New Voices, which is a platform that they have youth poetry slams all across the country. And
Right. Mm.
I was able to do something with them. And I remember, right, I was slamming. I gave it my all, yo. I was rehearsing. I made sure I was ready. Like, you know what I mean? I felt like I'm the shit. I could do it. And then, like, somehow I didn't win. Initially, I didn't win, you know, and I kind of felt like it was unfair. It was BS. Yeah, I was pretty upset. I'm like, damn, like, I put in all this work for what? Like,
Yeah.
I had that opportunity right within the hand, the palms of my fingers, and going. But nah, to my little did I know, a few days later, the people that they did pick for the competition, some of them couldn't commit to the team because, they may have had conflicts or they realized just how deep the commitment was. So some of them pulled out, and then they went off of the score list, and whoever was the runners up in those places, I guess they offered them the positions. And I remember I got the call from one of my poetry coaches, and she told me that I made the team, and I was like, wait, what? How I made the team? And I lost. And then they told me why. And yeah, so I had an opportunity to eventually go out there to Houston, Texas, and we went down there and slammed, and we made it to semifinals. We didn't win, but we almost made it there. And we was rehearsing like crazy, and it was only like four of us. And our group pieces was crazy. I still got some of those old videos up. Some group pieces I did. Back during my time when I was still on the youth slam team. It went crazy, but that came with a lot of hard work and commitment. It was basically a full-time job. I had to get that at 8. I left at 8. Rehearsing, choreography, learning the lines. And then if you go back and watch the videos of anyone does, like, yo, that shit mad clean. And y'all know why? Because we spent countless times revising,
Mm.
countless times rehearsing. And like I said, it was a big commitment, but I was up to the task. That's how bad I wanted it. And then I remember the following year, the same team, they went to Vegas and won third place in the finals. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go because by that point in time, I aged out of the program because it's from a certain age. I think it was, yeah,
Ah.
yeah, yeah. With the youth slam thing, it's up to a certain age. I think once it's past like 19, what I mean, you
Yeah.
can't slam. So, yeah, I aged out unfortunately, so I couldn't tag along for that ride. But at that point, everything I've learned from being on the slam team, everything I learned from the Poetry Institute and everything. I took that and used that for my whole journey to build my own platform and to also build my own skills. And that has eventually led me to where I'm at today. And the fact that I'm able to go different places and travel, I'm eternally grateful for it. Everyone who supports me, shows up for me, and gives me opportunities, I'm truly grateful. But however, it came with a lot of work. It was me to a point I go to open mic every week, every week, every week. It was like it was a grind. It was a full-time commitment. That's how bad I wanted it, and that's how I was able to build all of the connections, build all of the support that I have because I applied myself. Even when it was hard, it was times of like, yo, I was on my last couple dollars. I'm like, I need to eat, or I gotta go do this performance. And sometimes I picked the latter because that's how bad I really wanted it. And I
Right.
tell people, like everybody say they want to be successful, they want this and they want that. But ain't no if you ain't trying to put in the work, if you ain't trying to grind this shit out, sometimes it's gonna be months, hell, years. For me, it's been years. And anybody would have in a right mind would have said, yo, like I should do something else. And I had to also support myself during this time between me
Right.
performing, even more now I work a full-time job and all that, and I is balancing all of that stuff out all throughout college, balancing my schoolwork, my career, and working part-time jobs here and there just to support myself. Because the truth is like unless you a nepo baby or whatever have you, you
Yeah.
somehow miraculously get that opportunity to put you on a map. You're
That's
not gonna
true
make, you're not
passion
gonna
and
make,
dedication.
not gonna make no money off this shit, at least not at first. So you
Yeah.
gotta grind it out. If you gotta work that job, do what you gotta do, make that money, keep the bills paid, but also invest in you. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to invest in yourself because that's what's really going to make you go to the top. You can have all the skill, all the connections, but if you don't invest in yourself, you're not going anywhere. You ain't getting nowhere. And now I'm able to go outside of where I'm from and go to these different platforms and places because I have the courage to do so. I'm willing to take the chance, even if it don't work out. Still, at least I know it didn't work out. That's better than not trying. You know.
If someone is looking to get into that scene, what do you suggest that they do?
Well, simple thing. Um, First and foremost, before you even touch a stage, know your intention. Why do you want to do this? A lot of people gonna say, "Oh, I just want the money. I just want the fame." That's fine, but if that's all you chasing, you won't get burnt out real quick. Cause say you do get those things,
Right.
and you don't have no purpose beyond that. Eventually, you're gonna get bored. You know what I'm saying? So you have to understand your intention when it comes to that. Why do you want to get on stage? And once you find out your why, then the how. Particularly where I'm at, because I live in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, PA. They're arguably Connecticut, but we'll say PA. Yeah, just a lot of platforms that's easy to find, and especially with social media now and all of that stuff, with the Facebook groups and Instagram and all that different stuff. It's more easier than ever to find these platforms and be able to share your story and share your work. So, what I could recommend to anybody out there that's looking to get started, whether you want to be a poet, you want to be a writer, whatever, find out your why, you know, understand your purpose and your mission. And then from there, you figure out the execution. All right, what shows can I go to in this area, or how can I connect with these people, or things like that. Words can't really explain what I'm saying. They can, but you have to like go through it to understand it. So that would be
Right.
my suggestion to a lot of artists or people that's interested and want to share, and just have fun. Nobody's expecting you to be James Baldwin or anyone else like that. Be yourself. You
Right.
know.
What kind of mind frame? What inspires you when you do sit down to write?
Um, I really just look at a number of factors. Number one, how I feel in that moment. Because I ain't gonna lie, I've been writing a lot of angry poems lately. I've just been filled with so much anger. And it's not because, oh, you know what I'm saying?
The most beautiful things come out of those dark
Absolutely.
places.
It's like society teaches us to not feel that. It's sharp, especially as me being a man of color, showing any kind of emotion that ain't anger, that ain't masculinity, or letting your balls hang is what they call it. Oh, you're
Right.
not a man. You know what I'm saying? And that's entirely inaccurate and not true and very damaging. And that type of mind frame has damaged a lot of men, particularly from childhood, especially if you growing up in a black or Hispanic household. You show any kind of emotion. Or why you crying? Men don't cry.
Yeah.
Cry. If you crying, I'll give you something to cry about. Like stuff like that over time as you grow into an adult, that affects you
Yeah.
and how you express your emotions and interact with the world. And we a lot of us have been brought up in those kinds of environments where vulnerability was not encouraged. So furthermore, I say that to say, um, I look at how I feel and then I look at my intention. What am I trying to say with this piece? Am I trying to convince the people? Am I trying to um rebel against something, or am I trying to bring some type of healing or whatever have you? And from there on,
Right.
once I have my intention and my why and what I'm feeling, I'm able to put the pen to paper and take it from there. And you ain't gotta finish a poem right away. I've got poems that I've written years ago, and I've come back to, and I decided, hey, why don't I
Yeah.
just tweak a little? So it happens, as an artist. You might write something, and then later you come back to it, it resonate, or you want to rework it. And I'm also in that phase too, because I had a lot of books out, and I still do, but I have cut down my catalog significantly. But the simple fact is quality over quantity. You can have 300 books published, but if 290 of them are terrible, you're wasting your time. It's better just to
Good
focus
point.
right quality over quantity, and it took me a long time to get to that point. But now I'm going back. I'm looking at old stuff. I have a lot of big plans. I'm definitely rewriting some stuff I put out back then. Along with new stuff as well. Doing some revisions and a lot of different things that I'm trying to do because I'm at the point now. I'm getting introduced to a bigger audience, to more people, and once people start discovering me and looking into me, I want to make sure what I got is tight. You feel
Right.
me?
Solid. Mm.
So that's my take on that.
Um, when I was a lot younger, I have read Tupac's poetry book. It's one of my favorites.
Oh, the rose that grew from concrete, or is it
Yeah.
or that?
Yeah.
I love that. I love that one.
It when I read it, it made me realize first of all, not all your poems need to be titled, because I had that problem. And that
Yeah,
also that not all of them need to be finished because he had a lot of unfinished poems in that book.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
I think that's another thing as an artist that really can either could really either set us free or keep us in the cage, and that's perfection. Everything got to be perfect. Oh, this got to be done this way, and honestly, now I have that problem because because I'm also, me being an English major, I've worked when I was in college doing my undergrad. I worked as a journalist, for
Mhm.
the school paper and stuff like that. And I also have a book consultation service that I've helped a couple people get their work published. And I have editing experience and knowledge. So yeah, the idea of perfection definitely sometimes can be fleeting.
Yeah,
So, that's something that a lot of us we have to understand that it doesn't always have to be your best work. Allow yourself to fuck up. Allow yourself to mess up, make mistakes, because that's the only way you truly learn. If you got everything right, then you really wouldn't learn anything unless you already knew that. So,
Can you describe your writing process when you're creating?
okay. So as it pertains to like a poem or a book or
Yeah, in general. Mm-mm.
okay. All right. I'll speak in like the lens of a book because I just came out with a new book, which I'm gonna talk about in a few minutes. So typically my writing process, number one, what is my intention? Knowing what I want to do and why, excuse me, knowing what I want to do and why, that gives me already a clear direction of where I want to head. So say for example, I sit down, right? I want to write a book about heartbreak or I want to write a book about wellness. Okay, what does that look like? Right? What kind of experiences can I draw from? What kind of emotions are associated with heartbreak? What kind of emotions are associated with healing? And from there, you start coming up with schematics. You might have your title. Sometimes the title might be the first thing you think about. Sometimes it may come later. Everybody's
Yeah.
process is different. But at least from my experience, honestly, the first thing I think about next to the premise is the title. And then from there, I start building around that the concept pieces, the themes, the breakdowns. And then once I have that, then that's when I start the work itself. Typically, like if I'm writing a book like an anthology, let's just say an anthology, I try to at least give myself like I say at least an hour or two just to write.
Mm.
Just allow myself an allotted amount of time to just all right, just write. It don't have to be perfect. It don't have to be finished. Just write, right? And then after that time is up, I spend some more time, like another hour, looking over what I got. All right, what can I change? What can I fix? Or because sometimes, hey, while you writing, you might edit while you writing. I got a real bad habit of doing that. I edit as I write. Some people say you should do that or whatever, but again, everyone's process is different. What may work for one person might not work for the other. So I have a real tendency of doing that. Like I could be coming up with stuff as I'm writing, and then, well, I'll come back to it a few days later. Like, wait, I can add this in there, or so doing that. And then after I have everything finalized with what I want to do, if I decide, all right, do I want to perform this piece or do I just want to, save it for the book or let it rock for another time, or better yet, maybe make like a poetry visual out of it or something of that sort. Then, I sit down and I think about those ideas and those executions and how that could be brought to the forefront. So that's typically my writing process in a nutshell. I come up with an intention, I come up with a theme and the emotions and the motifs that's associated with that. And then from there, I give myself time to write, getting time to edit, and then time to just review everything and decide if there's something is this something I want to move forward with, or is it something I can save for another time? Because I have poems that I've written, I didn't necessarily perform yet, or if it's a book, typically like an anthology, I haven't included in the final release. Some things are gonna get cut, and it's natural. So that's my take on that.
Sounds like a good strategy. So, can I ask you to share a little something?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I knew that was coming. But I think I'll give you something that I just dropped in my latest book, and then I'll go on to the background and why that made me do that. So I'm gonna find a piece right now. I'm on my computer, and I'm gonna see what I can get. Nothing crazy, but something that's gonna really resonate with the people. So, ooh, I love this one. I just performed this one Friday night actually at an open mic that a good colleague of mine was hosting. So this is called "I Live in a Generation." Because I'm between the millennial and the Gen Z era. I'm like right in the middle. So this will definitely resonate, with
What
those
year are
ages.
you?
Oh, I'm 98 actually. Yeah, I just turned 27 last month.
That was a good year.
Yeah, I would have been 28, but the way my birthday fell, I'm not gonna turn 28 until the end of the year. So
Right. Okay.
yeah, so this is that poem. I live in a generation. I live in a generation of false highs, inflated egos, and excessive self-centricism that people disguise as being righteous. I live in a generation where people fail to distinguish the difference between virtual and reality. I live in a generation where you must protect yourself from friends more than you do strangers. I live in a generation where certain individuals would rather not speak to your corpse at your funeral than to ever admit how they were wrong for treating you. I live in a generation where fashion from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s are in style more than ever now. I live in a generation where Shorty will tell you all these sweet nothings only to then say it to another man. I live in a generation where Shorty will make you out to be the problem because you refuse to deal with her problems. I live in a generation where they want you being monogamous so that they can have you out here looking foolish. I live in a generation where you feel someone pulling on your energy because of their despair, and you have enough light to get them through their darkness. I live in a generation where they want you pouring into them, but have nothing to offer in return except for sweet talking and sexual favors. I live in a generation where marriage is no longer sacred. It's a battle over who leaves with what after they're through with the relationship. I live in a generation where the only correlation between you and success is based on the clothes you're wearing. I live in a generation where they'll wait until you're wealthy and famous to finally give you a congratulations. I live in a generation where everyone sinks themselves into debt to impress people they don't even fuck with like that. I live in a generation where the roles of the fake and the real are flipped. I live in a generation where a lot of these rappers are disrespecting 50 years of hip hop with their trash lyrics. I live in a generation where being sick is the new healthy. I live in a generation where questioning the status quo makes you an enemy of the state. I live in a generation where people are comfortable with being enslaved. I live in a generation where they'll let the mainstream media depict their reality. I live in a generation where they'll berate you for having your own will. This Gestapo shit, I ain't condoning it. I live in a generation where they'll post you on a gram with your guts blown all over the sidewalk before they call you an ambulance. I live in a generation where they'll wait until tragedy strikes to finally start liking your pictures. I live in a generation where everyone wants to be a poet now, but just a few years ago, y'all said poetry was whack. I live in a generation where everyone brags about how oppressed they are. I hear it in every poem, movie, and song. Quite frankly, I'm tired of it all. I live in a generation that is desperately attempting to recapture the glory days of their childhoods through drinking, smoking, fucking, and watching all the TV shows that we grew up on. I live in a generation that respects the trap nigga more than they do the working man. I live in a generation that is psychologically damaged. I live in a generation that is merciless. I live in a generation that fails to look themselves in the mirror to see what's wrong and how it could be stopped. I live in a generation that equates their worth to how many followers they have on their Instagrams or their TikToks. I live in a generation that is dumbed down. I live in a generation that it never fails to piss me off. I live in a generation that I no longer want to be part of. Poem.
You gave me chills. I
Thank you. I
love that.
appreciate it. I appreciate that. Thank you
I love
for
that. That was
vibing out.
amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wow. So true as well.
Thank you. Yeah, just all of that came from like experience and stuff that I've been through and what I've seen other people go through. And it's like, again, especially I'm between two generations, so it's like I feel it even more, the disconnect, even amongst each
Right.
other, and it's like, yeah, man, this is the world that we live in. And I kind of feel like it's always been like that, but the only difference is the faces and the technology. It's
Yeah.
just,
And that's what sucks because it's like it's a good thing on a small spectrum, which is like the fact that you're able to connect to people online. And I've met a lot of, I've gotten to know a lot of awesome people because of technology, but the downside is just so great. It's
yeah,
much greater.
it's
And
crazy
it's not gonna get any better
right
anytime.
now. It ain't, everybody looking for a savior. It ain't no savior coming, man. That's just the truth. We all we have is each other. We gotta save ourselves. They get some daddy in the sky gonna come down and get you. I don't know. Hey, hey, maybe not. I don't know. But at least the way I'm looking at it, man, we got a long way to go before we could think about some alien invasion coming to get us, all that nonsense. You know what I'm saying? And it's like because we have the internet, the technology we got now, it's like people want you to be available, accessible 24/7. I remember, yeah, when I was growing up as a kid, yeah, there was technology, computers and stuff like that, but nothing like how we have now. Um, when you went in the house by a certain time, you was in the house. People had to leave a number on your answering machine, or you was away from the computer.
Yeah.
Hey, do people even still have house phones anymore? I haven't seen a house phone in
Like, it'd be like your grandparents' house and shit now.
yeah, like yeah, I remember like when we got house phones no more. 'Cause everybody either go get on a computer or cell
Right.
phone.
And they think that because you carry a phone, that means you have to answer right then
Right,
and there and all this. And that is definitely something that it can get really frustrating because I'm like, okay, but yeah, my phone was right here, but I was busy. Or maybe I want to disconnect sometimes. And that is
oh yeah,
the hard stuff,
right.
especially when you're, a public figure or, you
Unfortunately,
have all
yes,
these things going on. People expect you to just be,
right,
there every time and
right, and
I
that's the
don't know.
challenge. That's a big challenge personally for me as an artist. It's like, because honestly, so much of my career has been built upon social media and technology. It's kind of hard to separate from it, but at the same time, that's not taken away from what I got to do in the physical. I also understand it's balance. But yeah, I think that's something a lot of us go through, trying to balance it out. Are we too
Yeah.
accessible? Are we not accessible enough? Yeah, man, it's a battle on that front.
I want to share one with you, see what you think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm all ears.
It's called I'm Different. They say that when you're drowning, you lose consciousness because of lack of oxygen. I say that there are other ways to drown that don't even involve water. Drowning in worry and uncertainty can cause one to feel equally asphyxiated to the point where you lose consciousness with the world around you. Most are born into the bright hospital lights. I was born into the shadows of the torturous life that came ahead. Most aren't built for the toughest battles of life has to offer. I was built to withstand the tornadoes that came my way. Although torn and a bit tattered, still I pushed through because it's all I know. Why are certain people chosen and given special gifts? One may never know. Left to imagine what awaits me after, or could it possibly be even worse? All the things people normally look forward to have differentiated for me. Alongside a better career, all I yearn for is a soul I can connect with who will be there for me endlessly. I I've no need of false friendships or forced untrue loves. My craving is to exist happily with one person I can trust, like-minded to grow alongside of, till I meet my end's fate and maybe true creator. The world is disappointing, but people are the true cause of serious pain.
Mm, it's real powerful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank
Very
you.
powerful, very vulnerable. And it's like, honestly, like those are the type of pieces, honestly, I love the most. And because of my performing background, I feel like I've been conditioned, oh, I gotta perform a certain way. All my bars or all my lines gotta be fast, 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 fast. But no, it's like some of the best work is where you just take your time and you let people hear what you have to say, feel it, and that's the essence I was getting from what you was reading. And I feel like I think moving forward, that's something I'm definitely gonna channel back into personally myself, slowing
Yeah,
down. Like I don't have to spit 50 rhymes in one line. And, you know,
right.
it's the art of slowing down and being steady is really. I feel like what separates the men from the boys. You know.
Yeah. I just have one more question for you. What has
Sure.
been your happiest moment so far on your poetry journey?
Mm, wow. Mm. Truthfully, just all the love that I get, all the people that reach out to me and say, yo, I fuck with what you're doing, or you inspire me, your words changed my life, keep going. And, every time I go to a crowd or I go to a show, and then I just feel all the love and all the presence that's in the room, and people come up to me and say, like, yo, you doing your thing, keep it up. Because it's not all hate, you know. That's also another thing I'll be talking about, especially particularly as it pertains to the local art scene. Yes, there is a lot of envy, jealousy, gatekeeping, competition, but there's also a lot of love, a lot of camaraderie, a lot of respect, and a lot of support. And truly, the happiest moment I've ever had, honestly, is just yeah, people telling me like, "Yo, you doing your thing," we inspired by you, and me being able to help people through what they're going through with my story. That for me has been the happiest moment of my career, and honestly, seeing those fruits come to labor beyond just getting booked or making money off books and merch. And speaking of books, today I just dropped my latest poetry book. This is going to be the first one for the year because I want to come out with two, but
Where can
this is
I
the first.
where can we access it?
Okay, so I'm gonna get into that. So the first piece is called "Collective Thoughts of a Colored Man." So that's an anthology. It's split into four parts. I talk about different, themes of, what it's like growing up to be a man of color, particularly a young man of color in America and everything that comes with that, all of the battles, all of the struggles. And I don't, it's unfiltered. If you come in thinking you gonna get roses or red, violets or blues, sorry. Yeah, you're not gonna get that here. It's more than cut. I'm letting y'all know right now. So, but nah, I just published it today. I have the paperback version in the works. I should have that out by the end of the week. But if anyone wants to check it out, you can look it up on Amazon. Collective Thoughts of a Colored Man, written by Kali Raymond, or just put in Savage Writer. It should still come up anyway. Everywhere you can find books at. Apple Books. What else? Amazon. Barnes and Noble. Again, wherever they sell books. I don't. So yeah,
I'm
y'all can check
working
that out, man.
I'm working on I've been, which honestly, with the hecticness of life and everything else, I've been slacking, but I have been working on a poetry book on the same platform. But you
Okay.
inspire me to hurry the fuck up and do it already.
I think it's
So
time. Take your time. You know what I mean? It's not a race. You know what I'm saying? Whenever you feel like you're ready to put it out, definitely. You know, you'll know when it's time. I feel like
I've
you
always
you
been very self-conscious. That's why, I just share that with you, but it's never been easy for me because I've always been self-conscious because my work is different and,
understand.
you
Yeah,
know,
I've had that. Yeah, that again. I feel like our stories are similar. I've had that same thing happen to me. You know, dang, it's too much. You know, what if they don't like this? But that's something that's that inner voice we have to overcome. It's gonna be doubt. Yeah, the enemy is gonna plant seeds in your mind to try to take you off your path. But
right.
it's
Mm.
imperative that you have the willpower to not let that go through. You know what I'm saying?
I want to thank you again for being here. And you dropped a lot of knowledge. You was preaching a lot, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
the world of writers and poets
you.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Keep
Thank
doing
you.
what you do. And I wish you
Likewise.
nothing but a lot of success.
Thank you so much. Likewise. Same for you. And when that
You
book drop, let me know. I definitely support.
definitely, likewise. You are what goes against the grain of this society.
Absolutely. Too many fakes out here, too many copycats, cookie cutting ass motherfuckers. We doing away with that. It's the age of Aquarius. You feel me? We doing away with that.
But you take care, and I would love to have you again sometime in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm down. Just let me know, and we could definitely come back and chop it up again anytime you'd like.
I'll add all your info so you guys could definitely check him out and follow him on Instagram, a Savage Writer. May the force be with y'all. Good night.
Peace.